Welcome back to the Science of Wellness. Today we're diving into a conversation that every woman needs to hear. Joining me is Bo de Vries, a women's health educator, content creator, and the founder of Flow with Bo. Bo is on a mission to help women thrive in their female bodies throughout every phase of their cycle by providing health, wellness, and productivity strategies that work with your hormones, not against them. She's built an incredible community by teaching women how to decode the signals of their bodies, overcome symptoms like fatigue, cravings, and mood swings, and step into a more empowered, energetic version of themselves. In this episode, we unpack hormone hacks, cycle syncing, the stress hormone connection, and one of the most important lessons in women's wellness. Expect practical insights, mindset shifts, and a few why didn't I learn this earlier moments. Welcome, Bo.
Thank you so much. It's so nice to be here. I'm really excited. I love talking about these things. So I was so excited that you asked me to come on the podcast. So really excited for this conversation.
I can't wait to dive in. So let's get straight into it. So I start every episode with this one question. What does wellness mean to you personally, and how has your definition evolved over time?
Yeah, I love that. I would say to me, wellness now is balance, and not balance in the 50 cents. It's more balance into the difference between giving and taking. So I would say that I got burned out at a very young age, and we'll dive more into that later. But what I learned from that is your body is like your phone's battery. So the end of the day, it makes sense that if your battery is like, I don't know, 10%, 0%, you charge it overnight so that the next day you can use it again. And your body works like the same. We understand that in order for us to use the phone the next day, we have to charge it. Yet we have this idea that with our bodies, we can just keep going. We can keep using it. We can keep giving energy without refilling our energy. And I think that's what makes us burn out. It's as simple as that. You give too much and you don't give back to your body, because your body is like sort of your vessel where you can do everything in life with. But if you don't give it energy back, it's going to drain, just like a battery. And so that is kind of wellness to me. It is making sure that throughout my life, throughout my day, throughout my week, as soon as I have given energy, I give energy back to myself. Like I fill my cup, because I've realized from actually burning out that if I don't fill my own cup, if I don't charge my battery, no one else is going to do that for me. I have to do that myself. And if I do that, I can show up more in my life for the people I care about and for the opportunities I want to take on. And I think that with that, the mindset switch that I had to make, and I think a lot of women have, is taking care of yourself is selfish, and setting boundaries is selfish, and we should be showing up for others first. And I think that is so wrong, because if we always give to others and we don't give to ourselves, there's nothing left to give. Like when I was burned out, that I was worth nothing. And it was because I wasn't taking care of myself. I wasn't filling my own battery and my own cup. So I think that is wellness for me. As soon as I've given energy to someone or to something, I have to make sure I give it back. And the thing is, it's not 50-50. Like your body can do a lot for us. So it's just like finding sort of the chargers, I guess, for you personally, and what makes you feel recharged again. And for some, that's like sleeping a lot. For others, it's walking in nature, or there are all these different things. But I think that is wellness to me. It's making sure that I feel balanced overall, because there are gonna times where I have to give more, and then there are times where I can get more and give myself back more. So it's like, that's what I'm saying. It's not 50-50. It doesn't have to be that perfect balance. It's just that that's how I avoid burnout now. It's like, as soon as I give something away, I have to take it back to myself.
Absolutely love the answer that you just gave. Because I think as a woman, we really forget to give back to ourselves and just take a moment and just pause and think about what makes us happy. It might sound selfish, but it isn't. Because as you mentioned, how can we give to others if we don't give to ourselves? So now you mentioned about your burnout. Was that the turning point that led you to healing your body in a natural way and then founding Flow with Bo?
Yes, definitely. I would say that, to give you a little background of like how I got to that point, is basically from when I was like a 3-month-old baby, I was completely covered in eczema. Like I was like one big strawberry. I struggled with really intense eczema. I was scratching myself open to bleeding as a kid. And just as I got older, and it just became worse. What is interesting is that now we know that eczema is paired with asthma most of the times. And so, yeah, when I was like around 4 or 5 years old, I started to get asthma, so trouble breathing. And then when I was around 10, I would say 10, 12, I started to get my first pimples. And like getting some pimples, like it's quite common as a young adult or like a young teenager. But I struggled with severe facial acne for like 10 years, way past my teenage years. Still, when I was in college, I had it for a very long time. And so I had skin issues. I got eczema, I had asthma, and then I felt like as I got older, the list of allergies I thought I had just grew. So it was watermelon. Oh, I'm allergic to strawberries. I'm allergic to dairy. I'm allergic to gluten. I'm allergic to eggs. That list would just keep on growing. I had hay fever. I thought I had sun allergy, and it just became worse and worse. And I had been put on medication from when I was literally 3 months old. So all of that medication kind of together with all these symptoms that just seemed to get worse over time made me think I'm gonna have this for the rest of my life. Like at one point you think this medication, it's not helping, but I'm just taking it because it becomes part of your identity, I couldn't really do running because I was so out of breath all the time. I needed to bring my inhaler wherever I went. And so all of these things together kind of led to this burnout point where, together with also like personal things that I went through, being a perfectionist, a people pleaser, always saying yes to everyone, like the emotional part of that, but also being completely undernourished because I've been trying all these different diets, gluten-free, dairy-free. I was vegan for a while, vegetarian. I tried everything literally because I was like, I just want to fix myself. Like, what is going on? I didn't understand. And so I had a lot of stress, a lot of trauma from all of these issues. And it was when I got burned out, it was literally my body just coming to a stop. Looking back, I had a lot of signals. Like all these health issues I was like experiencing were just signals, just my body talking to me in symptoms because it cannot speak in words. And we'll dive into that more later. But when I started to realize that, it was like, wow, like it's not that my body is fighting against me, even though it felt like that. It was just my body telling me, like these alarms went off and they just, my body was screaming louder and louder because I wasn't listening, because I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know how my body worked. I didn't know what my body was reacting to. And so at this point, when I got burned out, which was when I was 20, I had to stop studying for half a year because I couldn't read anymore. Like my eyes were so, like they were tired. Like I could not read, and I was having panic attacks, which was so scary. So I had that, and my energy was like non-existent. Like I was completely drained, like 000%, meaning that even going for a walk was too much energy for me. And so it's like, looking back, I had all these symptoms, but I had no idea what they meant. And when I got to this point, I was like, okay, the person I am now is not the person I want to be. And that was this people pleaser that did not set boundaries, that said yes to everyone, but also that was completely undernourished because I was cutting out so many food groups. And I was so afraid to eat that I didn't even want to go out with friends anymore because I had to always check the menu. Oh, I can't eat that. Oh, I can't eat that. Oh, you know what? Like, what's the point? And so that also led to a condition called orthorexia, which is not very common, but it is an eating disorder where you are so afraid to eat because you think everything is making you sick. So you're like really obsessed with healthy eating to the extent that you just quit a lot of foods. And that was the point when I realized, like, okay, something needs to change. And when I went and moved to Sweden at the time, my boyfriend was really into natural ways of healing. And so around this time, I was working at Rituals, and they actually introduced me to yoga meditation. And I learned to breathe. I think that was like the point when it sounds so funny, but I learned to breathe. Because imagine having asthma all the time, my breathing was up in my chest all the time. So what does that activate? Your fight or flight response of your nervous system. So my body was constantly stressed. So learning to kind of lower my breath and learning to calm myself, that was like the first thing that changed. And then I stopped tracking my, sorry, no, I stopped using birth control at this time because my boyfriend was like, you are on all this medication and it's not doing anything for you. So why are you still using it? And he was annoyed because when we traveled, I had like a whole toiletry bag of medication with me. And he was like, it's so annoying. Because at the airport, they have to check everything, you know. And he was like, just quit it all. So he was actually the one who introduced me to natural ways of healing. And then, so I stopped birth control and I started tracking my cycle naturally with Natural Cycles, which is a Swedish company. And that's when, like, that's kind of where like Flow with Bo started to take shape, because I started learning about my body and I was thinking every time, why don't I know this about myself? Like, this is basic things about my biology, that I cannot get pregnant every single day of my cycle, that I don't actually have a period when I'm taking birth control, that my body isn't the same every single day, so I shouldn't take care of it the same every single day. And so all of that together kind of led me into sharing that, because I'm someone, when I learn something, I just want to spread it. I want to share it. So I started with a blog that became a podcast. Then I started on social media. I did a little coaching women as well. And now like doing events and kind of like educating women via workshops and things like that. Because I was like, if I don't know this about myself, and there must be other women not knowing this. And that's kind of how it all started. And just like this inner desire of helping women unlock their female potential. That's like kind of like the mission statement of Flow with Bo. And how I do that has changed and it's constantly evolving, like the mean, I guess, like how I bring that. But the key is like helping women thrive in their cycles as a woman, because everything out there is based on the male body and we need to start taking care of ourselves as a woman. And that's when everything changed for me.
I absolutely love that you highlight breathing, because that is the first thing that I notice as soon as I get stressed, then everything just stops. So
Yeah,
immediately need to just, even if it's a breath out, but fully out, then it gives that release. So I thought, I actually thought a few years back that breathing, I don't think it actually works. Yeah, okay, I did yoga, but breathing with it, I thought it was nonsense. And it
right.
isn't. Now I've gone into the science of it and the science behind it. It actually does work. So I've been trying out all these different breathing techniques, different times in the day, and it's amazing the difference that it makes.
That's so cool. Yeah, I mean, like I did a yoga teacher training as well, because when I developed, like when I started doing yoga myself, and before that it was like, yoga is not for me. I don't like it. It's too slow, this and that. And it's so funny because that was exactly why I needed it, because I was always so fast paced and I needed to learn to slow down and to
Mhm.
start breathing and stuff. And so whenever someone comes to me and says, yoga, it's not for me, I'm like, that's why you need it. Like, you need it. When you say that, you need it. And I think that's so funny, like, because, like you say, when you're learning to, like, breathing, it's such a key thing, but we don't learn to breathe. Like, we never get told the power of breath. Like, when you're nervous, there's a special technique you can use to just calm your body down. It's so easy and it's completely free. And the thing was, like, when I experienced yoga myself, I was like, again, like that feeling of, oh my God, like, this is so powerful. Like, I want to teach other women. So I also got certified as yoga teacher, because I was like, this is so important for women. And we'll dive into the stress connection specifically for a female body, because it is so profound.
Well, now that we are on women specifically, I want to just go to periods, because
Mm.
with periods, there's so many women that's experiencing fatigue and bloating and mood swings and missing periods. What do you believe are the most misunderstood root causes of these common symptoms?
I love that you already highlight the most common misconception is that those are not the root causes. Those are the symptoms. And I think the misconception is that we have this idea that those symptoms is our body working against us. And I think that is a very negative outlook. I mean, I don't know about you, but when I got my first period, it was like, well, now from, you see it everywhere on social media, you see it on TV series and everything. Like, now you're like once a month, you're going to be in pain, you're going to be moody, you're going to be this. And it's like this negative associations with a woman's body and a woman's cycle and a woman's period. And obviously that does shape how we experience them and what we expect. And I think when I was actually trying to kind of start like coaching women, it was actually really hard to sort of get women to sign up because we have just been conditioned that it's part of being a woman to have period pain, to have mood swings, to feel this fatigue every month. And it's not. And I think that is the thing. Like we think it's normal, but it's not, because the thing is, and I think this is the unfortunate thing, is that just because it is common does not mean it's normal. And I think that's the thing we have to like break, is because so many women experience it, we think, oh, it's normal. Because oftentimes when we struggle with something and we share it with someone and that person also experiences that, we think, oh, thank God I'm not the only one. And we think, oh, now I must be normal because I'm not the only one dealing with it. But the problem is, it used to be normal not to have all these issues. This is something that we've gotten over the past years. Like, it's not, why would we as women be created to have pain every month? Like, how does that make sense biologically speaking, right? And so I think just because it's common does not mean it's normal. I think that's a big misconception that we have, and the negative associations that we are told. And I think that's why it's always been my mission to, because I felt that way, and it's been my mission to re-educate women on actually the power that their bodies hold, and that those symptoms are actually signals from our body trying to tell us something is out of balance, whether that's from our hormones being too stressed, too much cortisol, too little progesterone, too much estrogen, whatever it might be. Our bodies are using these symptoms to communicate to us, hey, something's up, you got to work on this. And I think when you start to view them like that, it becomes a lot more empowering. And I think, yes, it can be quite challenging to heal, but I think, it's a journey. Like, healing takes time, and we live in a society where we want quick fixes, and healing naturally is not something you fix overnight. You don't just take a pill, right? Why are supplements so popular? Like, just take a pill. But even supplements take time to actually start working at one point. So I think that is another misconception. Like, healing takes time, but it is totally possible, because I had very painful periods at the beginning, and now I have most of my periods are pain free. And I think also one more thing I would like to add there, something that actually helped me get there, was changing my mindset, because I was thinking to myself, I want a pain free period. But what does the brain do? It still thinks, it still hears pain. And so instead of thinking, I want pain-free periods, I started thinking, what do I actually want? Well, I want to have a pleasurable period. I want to be able to do these things during my period. Because then your brain is starting to look at that. It's the same when I tell you, find the color red. You're not going to see any blue around. And it's the same with how you talk with yourself and what you envision. It's like, don't view it as like a pain-free period, a pleasurable period, fun period, whatever you want to call it, that you actually want. And I think that helped a lot too.
I'm so glad you highlighted that healing takes time.
Yeah.
We are living in a fast-paced world. And I've also coached a few people where I've just had to sit with them and tell them, your cholesterol won't go down overnight. It's going to take 3 to 6 months. It's going to take time. And now with hormones specifically, because it is so complex, it might even take longer. So if you go off of birth control, it's not just next month your period is going to be normal. It's going to be a few months, especially if you've been on birth control very long. So very glad you mentioned it and highlighted that. More people need to hear that. What I love on your website is that you mentioned you are not a small man. I love that, because I think we as women, we lose focus of who we are, and then we keep on comparing. But can you explain what you mean by you are not a small man, and why it matters so much for women, especially when they are trying to improve their health?
Yes, I actually love this one myself as well, because it is so ironic, because we are acting like we're small men. We're doing the same things as men. And I think this comes from sort of like the feminist time, when we wanted to get equal rights, and we thought, okay, in order to get equal rights, we should act like men. We should do the same things as men in the workplace so that we get the same opportunities. And I think, that movement has helped us so much to have these similar opportunities and to get these rights that we now have. And I think we should be so happy, but I think it's moving in the wrong direction, because now we're saying, what you can do, I can do bleeding. And I'm like, why? Right? Why are we trying to be like men? Because the thing is, we thought that the things that make us a woman, this intuition, our emotions, we've been told that those are weaknesses, when in fact that's our strength. And the reason we have men and women on this planet is that we are a team. We have unique capabilities and we have unique strengths, and we kind of add towards each other. And I think because of this, we've kind of lost touch of our femininity and the way our female body works. And we started to take the pill. And I think the pill has given us so much as well, so much freedom to an extent, but it's also disconnected us from our feminine energy in our female bodies, because it basically stops the whole natural process of our cycle so we don't get pregnant, which is such an important part of our bodies. Like, our bodies ovulating is so key to our health, even if you don't want to get pregnant. And we've kind of like cut all those things away and became more and more masculine. And I think the problem with that is that what we're seeing is how many women are being burned out because we are pushing and performing, and we're not connecting to our receiving energy and our resting energy and our nurturing energy. And so it becomes out of balance. We drain ourselves, right? Like the example of the battery, like the more we give, the more we should get back to ourselves. And in combination with that, it's the, acting like a small man. A lot of the research, the medical research and the nutritional research, and you name it, is all been based on the male body. And a man is not the same as a woman. Men are the same every single day. I always say, like, men are like the sun, it's like their testosterone rises in the morning, and, as soon as you go through the day, it lowers again. And so the sun goes up and down, right? And we women, we're like the moon. We go through 4 different stages, and we're not the same every day. Our hormones fluctuate, but it's a lot more predictable than we think. And our hormones control every single process in our bodies, from our sleep, our energy levels, our focus and productivity, how hungry we are, etc. And so we have to be a lot more. We can't do the same thing every single day. Because when we do, in certain parts of our cycle, the hormones are more or less sensitive to that, and they react to that, and that causes a lot of the issues that we as women experience that men don't. So a lot of like diets and trends that are out there are actually not great for a female body, because they might make the body feel unsafe and give the body too much stress, which is really way worse for women compared to men. And we'll get more into that. But the key thing is, like, don't act like a small man. It's a reminder that we are not men, we are women, and we have our unique capabilities, and it's connecting to that, giving our bodies what they actually need. Because the way what we're doing now, acting like a small man, it's not making us feel very good. That's why we have all these issues like period pain and all of that. It's because we're going against the flow. No, and I think every woman has to connect internally and just like feel intuitively, knows this. We know that we're working against our bodies. If we would take a moment to sit with it, like, that is the problem. We are going against the stream. We're not flowing with it. And that's why we have the issues, because it's a body screaming, please stop going against me. And so I think that's like the main message.
Well, this leads directly now to cycle syncing. It has been a term that has been trending, and everyone's talking about cycle syncing. But
yeah.
Can you just walk us through what it actually means to live in sync with your cycle, and how it can change someone's energy, their productivity, and even the workout that they are doing?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's so much out there about cycle syncing now. And I think it's so good to like really understand what it actually means. I think a lot of people have this idea that it's about following certain set of rules for each phase of the menstrual cycle. But it's actually not. It's actually just going with the flow and listening to your body instead of fighting it, instead of ignoring it. I think that is the main message. What cycle syncing teaches you is to take a moment to connect to your body. What do I need right now? Right? So when you're on your period, right, and you have this super heavy HIIT training planned, do you actually feel like doing that? Just because you planned it, right? But if you check in with, I don't know about you, but like when I'm on my period, I ain't doing that. Like, I just want to like relax.
Definitely
right?
not. I'm not jumping around. I'm not pushing around stuff.
No, and I think no woman would want that. But then we do, because we think, oh, discipline, we think, oh, routine, we think, oh no, otherwise I'm losing this and that. And it's actually not, because then they do the workout, right? And how do they feel afterward? Do we feel good? No, we feel completely drained, because we give so much energy when our hormones are already low, so our energy is naturally already low. And so then after our periods, how do we feel? Do we feel energized when our hormones are rising? No, we don't. we are drained again. And so that is the problem. We are so out of tune with it. And cycle syncing teaches you to flow with it, because really what cycle syncing teaches you is to go with your energy, because your energy is not the same every single day. And that is because of your hormones. Your hormones change. Estrogen tends to make you feel quite energized. Meaning that after your period, you naturally feel more energized leading up to ovulation. That's like the window where your energy is quite high. You feel quite confident. You feel out, like out in the world. You want to be seen. You're extroverted. And then after ovulation, that's when your energy starts to drop a little bit, because estrogen goes down, but progesterone comes into the picture. And she actually is a lot more introverted. She wants to feel more nourished. She does not like stress. She wants to feel more safe. And it's all because your body thinks, oh, I might be pregnant, so I got to protect myself from any harm so that this baby can actually become, into the world. And so during our periods, it's sort of like this inner detox process. Like we let go of what our bodies no longer need, because we realize, oh, we're not pregnant. So it's a cleanse. We get rid of everything so we can start anew. And this is a time where our bodies are working hard. Like the uterus is a muscle, it needs to contract. It works hard to let go of what no longer serves us. And so this is a time where we shouldn't be pushing ourselves too much, because that will drain us, because our energy is already low, because our bodies are working hard. So cycle syncing really is about going with this natural flow of energy changes, energy fluctuations, and giving your body what it needs. And then I take it to the next level, which is kind of using your hormones to your advantage. And I talk about this on LinkedIn a lot, about how you as a woman can actually use your cycle as an advantage at work, because your hormones also influence your productivity and your focus and your creativity. And if you know how, then you can use it to your advantage, because your hormones impact your brain and that impacts your work. And so if you know, okay, in this part of my cycle, I'm really good at communication, then it's a good time to plan that presentation, to plan that pitch, etc. But if you know during the week before your period, you're really good at administrative work or organizational work, then that's a good time to plan cleaning your space, organizing folders, kind of finishing off to-dos and finishing off projects. And so knowing that makes your female body so much cooler, because we live in a very masculine structure, working 9 to 5, needing to show up the same every day. And our productivity is more planned in the day. So we think, okay, we do certain activities like high focus things in the morning and then meetings in the afternoon. Why? Because men have they have their testosterone in the morning where they're very focused, and then it lowers in the evening. So that's a good time to meet up with people and discuss things, right? And so we have to learn as women that we don't function like that, but we have our own sort of productivity blueprint, which is our cycle. And if we know how to use that, and we know, okay, in this part of my cycle, this is how I feel. And again, it's not about, I give a lot of advice on, oh, in this part of your cycle, you should do that. That's generalized. That's kind of the general perfect cycle, but not every day is the same. Like sometimes I'm ovulating and I should be feeling my best and I'm not, and that's okay. So it's not about this hard, rigid thing again, because that's way more masculine. It's about the flow. It's about listening to my body and giving my body what it needs. And then you like seeing your cycle as something powerful rather than a curse, because it's not, but we've been told that. So that's why I want to change that narrative. And cycle syncing, again, to like wrap it all up, is flowing with your energy levels, listening to what your body needs, and supporting your hormones at each phase of your cycle. And I think we intuitively know, because our bodies are smart. We get cravings before our periods because our body is telling us we need more glucose, we need more protein, we need more fats. We burn 300 more calories in this part of our cycle. So the cravings is just a sign, hey, give me more food. If you then give sweet potatoes, you give more dark chocolate, pumpkin seeds, etc., you will not have cravings for chips and ice cream and all of that stuff. And so I think it's all about listening to the body. And that's something we haven't been told.
I'm glad you just gave me the go-ahead for dark chocolate. That is my favorite.
I know, yes, I eat it so much. It's
Making
so
a note
good.
of every time during my cycle, I'm going to eat that. Okay, great.
Yes.
So, okay, now that you've mentioned cravings, okay, we as women, we are supposed to, in society, push through with our symptoms, our PMS, our pain.
Yeah.
But what would you say to someone who feels stuck in that cycle and doesn't know where to start?
I think what I would recommend to someone that feels that way is to actually get educated, get curious, and start learning about your body. Because I think we have to take matters into our own hands because we are not fed this information. We're not fed it at school. And even if you look at the algorithms at social media, I find it very interesting. There are videos of women that kind of show how they change throughout the cycle in this really sort of extreme way where they, I think that the vulnerability and relatability content does really well on socials, but it's also dangerous because I see these women saying, "Oh, I feel like a complete witch and I become a bitch in this part of my cycle and I'm this and this and that," like this really negative energy. And then a lot of women are, "Oh, I'm like that too, so it's normal again." No, it's not. Like, I think we don't have to turn into that. It's just, again, we're working against our bodies. Why do you get irritated the week before your period? It's because you plan too much. It's because you're not listening to this intuitive feeling that you actually want space with yourself. You want time with yourself. You want to be introverted, but you're not allowing yourself to be that way because you planned all these dates with everyone and you planned all these work activities in this part of your cycle, and you get irritated with your boyfriend because actually what you need is just being with yourself. And that, so all these symptoms, all these little things you're feeling, it's just signals from our bodies. We shouldn't normalize them. We should listen to them and then adapt. And so what I would tell someone that feels like I'm pushing through, it's really about understanding how your body works. Start listening to your body. Write down every day, how I felt this, I felt that. What could that mean? What could my body telling me? I'm getting cramps. Why? What is my body trying to tell me? Is my body actually saying I should be resting now? Is my body saying I should not go out with my friends right now because all I should do is just lay in a warm bath, right? So I think that is something I would recommend. And there's so many amazing books. There's so much more information out there now than like 5 years ago when I started doing this. And that's one way it's good, but I think use that to start to know what you should become aware of, and then use your own body and like start listening to the feedback your own body gives you to understand your unique body. That's what I would recommend, because I think when you learn about your body, you start to see and you hear these different narratives that you haven't been told yet. And that will change, like that will make you feel more empowered about your body, more in control.
You just mentioned that on social media that we're seeing these women saying that, okay, I'm having mood swings, but then we normalize it again.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of the popular health trends that might actually work against women's hormonal health?
Yeah, this is such a good one. And I talk about this a lot because there are some popular health trends that are healthy, but just not all the time and not for women specifically. And we can go through a few of them. But I would say start with like the cold plunging trend, cold plunging, ice cold showers, stuff like that. The thing is that it has so many health benefits, and I'm not going to mention them all, but they have a lot. The problem though, however, is that when we do cold plunging, it creates a stress response in our bodies, right? We get into fight or flight mode. The male body is a lot more resilient to stress rather than the female body. So if we look at the female body, it's a lot more resilient to stress when estrogen is high, because estrogen can handle stress. So after our periods, or like towards the end of the periods, estrogen rises. So that is a good time to do cold plunging. That's when your body can handle it. That's when you could recommend it. But you don't have to do it as cold as men would do, because again, your body in general is more sensitive to stress. If you have a delayed period, so if your periods cycles are very long, for example, it means really that you have a delayed ovulation. And ovulation is when the egg drops and you are fertile and basically can get pregnant. And the reason your ovulation is delayed because your body feels unsafe to have a baby. If your body feels unsafe, it's because there's too much stress in your body, and your body doesn't know the difference from you doing a cold shower rather than running from a bear. But it thinks, okay, your body is now in a stressful situation. We cannot make a baby right now. That doesn't seem like a good idea. So it pushes ovulation away, and that's why your period is late. And I think that is what we need to realize, that our female body is a lot more sensitive to stress, especially the week before our period and during our period, because that's when progesterone is present. And progesterone is actually our very calming hormone. It is making us a little bit more sleepy and more introverted. And the reason a lot of women struggle with mood changes and fatigue, it's because their progesterone is too low, and that is due to too high stress levels. So in the beginning of our cycle, when estrogen is high, our bodies can handle that stress. We can handle the cortisol. But then we keep going in that pace, and then when progesterone tries to come up, it cannot, because cortisol lowers progesterone. And so now we don't have this calming, nurturing progesterone in our bodies. We have this anxious, creating, depressive cortisol stealing the show. And that is why we get the mood swings, right? And so in this part of our cycles, we do not want to raise our stress levels. We want to change our lifestyle habits to feel more safe, to tell our bodies we're safe, to lower those stress levels with our exercise, with our food, etc. So cold plunging, very good to do. Don't do it before your period, and don't do it during. Why not during? Well, your period blood is like coconut oil. It solidifies when it's cold, which means it becomes really hard for your uterus to get rid of. So your uterus, which is a muscle, needs to pump really hard. And what happens when you keep flexing your biceps? You're gonna get cramps, right? Same with the uterus. The uterus is working really hard. You gotta make sure during your period that your body is warm. That means warm foods, warming spices, warm drinks, no crop tops in this part of your cycle. Like you want nice sweaters, no cold ankles, no cold lower backs. Just make sure your body is warm outside and in, so that the uterus can get rid of the blood, and the blood is smooth and it's easy to get rid of. That's one of the reasons you might have period cramps, is because your body is too cold. So no cold plunging there. So that is one thing I would say, the cold plunging. Together with that, also connected to the stress levels, is fasting. Again, fasting, so popular now, has so many benefits, absolutely. But you really do not want to do fasting the week before your period, because your body actually burns 300 more calories in rest. So without doing more, you burn more. And if you then eat even less, that's when you get cravings, because it's your body telling you, I need to eat more. And so I think that is a very important thing to know. Fasting is great, kind of like around your period and after that. But if you really want to know on what day you should do fasting, how long you should do fasting, which kind of fast, I really recommend the book Fast Like a Girl from Mindy Pelch. Such an amazing book. It's incredible. And she has a lot of amazing books. So I would recommend that one if you're into fasting. I sometimes would fast like after my periods, and sometimes it's actually better to not do the fasting in the morning, but to skip dinner, for example, because in the morning your cortisol naturally rises to get you out of bed. And I think a lot of women already have natural high stress levels. So then if we do not eat in the morning, the cortisol goes up and it becomes even more stressful for your body. So then it's actually better to maybe not have dinner, to have like a later lunch and then fast overnight. And that's another one I would really make sure that you adapt that to your body. And then also, again, connected to the stress, it's the HIIT trainings. HIIT trainings, again, is great because, it makes your heart stronger, but it's also good to sweat. But the HIIT training, again, raises your cortisol levels. And that is something we do not want the week before our periods and during our periods, because they also drain our energy. And that's why it's great to do them in the phases of our cycle when we have the energy, because it gives us more energy. But when we do them in the low energy phases of our cycle, we actually drain our energy way too much. And then we become tired when we shouldn't really be that tired. If you feel really fatigued the week before your period, that is actually a sign you're pushing yourself too much. You should actually be sleeping even more, like in those two phases, like the luteal, so the week before your period and during your period, because your body is working harder and it needs that extra rest. So those three, I would say for sure. But I want to add two more because I think those are more connected to women. One is wearing the yoga leggings. And this is something I recently really dove into. The thing is, yoga leggings, they're comfortable, they look nice, but they're so toxic. A lot of them are really toxic. And I'm still replacing my own, so I'm not perfect at this. But the reason I'm bringing this up is because leggings are made with plastics, polyester, nylon, these water-resistant materials, and those are endocrine disruptors, meaning that they disrupt your hormones. The way it works is that your body actually absorbs these microplastics, especially when you're sweating and your pores are open. They absorb the microplastics, and usually only wear these leggings when we're working out, so when we're sweating, right? And so our bodies think, oh, we have so much estrogen now. And if you have a lot of estrogen, estrogen is responsible for building your uterine lining. And that is actually what you bleed during your period. So if you have a lot of estrogen, it means your uterine lining becomes really thick, which means during your period, you have to let go a lot. And so that gives you heavy periods and thus heavy cramping and thus painful periods. And so there's so many different endocrine disruptors nowadays, and it can be really, really hard to get rid of them all. Like I try to do every time I get rid of something, I kind of replace them with a natural version, because these microplastics are like everywhere. And it's also in the perfumes that we wear. Those are very, endocrine disruptive, and some of the food that we eat. But I think that's why I want to highlight the leggings, is because they could actually be causing you period pain, because your body gets too much of it. And so it feels way more easier in the US to get natural fiber leggings. I struggle finding them in Europe, to be honest. I'm currently looking, I think bamboo is really nice if you want more stretchy leggings. And so I'm really, recommending that one, to be aware that the things you're wearing could actually be causing your health issues. And then there was one more that I really want to highlight: the 10-step skincare routines. They gotta go. They gotta go. I understand the idea of the self-care and pampering yourself, and I think that's amazing. But they, again, have so many toxic ingredients in them, and it's so unnecessary, because I really believe that true glowy skin comes from inside, from the food that you give your body, how hydrated you are, how healthy your body is inside. And the thing is, these, like I said, I had acne for more than 10 years. I tried all these creams and serums and cleansers and etc., and they only made my skin worse. And I think some people naturally have really good skin, so they don't maybe get impacted on their skin by these creams. But then maybe you get very heavy periods, because again, these toxins in these skincare creams are endocrine disruptors. Look at the ingredients. You want minimal ingredients, and you want to find out, is this actually natural or not? Because what you put on your skin, it goes into your body. So it's, if you can't eat it, if you wouldn't put it in your mouth, why would you put it on your skin, right? And I think that is something I would really, really highlight, is you honestly don't need so many skincare steps. If you want that feeling of pampering, check the ingredients. And really, I think more women need to be mindful of this, because we get so many toxins into our bodies, and that is what causes all these hormone issues. And we think we're doing a good thing because we're taking care of ourselves, but I mean, there are different ways to take care of yourself, and this is actually doing more harm than good. So I really wanted to highlight that one, because it needs to go.
You've given now 5 great ways to get started.
Yeah.
I'm also looking at leggings. Now, I love to wear leggings, especially working from home. So I wear leggings most of the time.
Right. Yeah.
It's definitely a big concern. And now that you mentioned the skincare as well, there's so many products now that's starting to gain traction that's so much healthier. And
Yeah.
it doesn't contain the sulfates or anything that can disrupt your hormones. So definitely something for everyone to start looking at. But now I want to shift a little bit with you and go into one of your client stories, that a client that you've helped before, and a story that really stayed with you. So what was that? What happened?
Yeah, and this one ties into all the things we've said, and so I think it's a perfect example. So I had someone that I worked with, super ambitious woman, entrepreneur, working on all these different projects, highly successful in her work, and struggling with very irregular periods. So she didn't had her period for 6 months, lots of acne as well. She had a very hard time falling asleep at night, and it was very hard to wake up in the morning. And she was the perfect example of, when we started working together, she thought, I'm healthy because I am vegan and I do fasting and I do cold showers and I work out every day. And I was like, amazing. You are acting like a small man. You are putting so much stress on your body and you don't even know it. And so I recommended her the next things, because I really noticed she was in this entrepreneurial mindset, working hard and wanting to, a lot of performing, right? There was no nurturing, there was no resting, because the workouts and the lifestyle things she was doing were high stress things. And I want to just stress that stress isn't actually bad. Like, some stress is really good for us. I think, cortisol is not the bad guy. Cortisol is amazing. Adrenaline is amazing, can really help us in situations and keep us safe. But it's the chronic stress that's the problem. And a lot of women especially have this chronic stress. And then we add on top these lifestyle things that also bring up stress, and then it becomes just too much. So if your body is like balanced and you have lower stress levels, then some of these healthy habits could actually be fine. Because when you work out and you do a high intensity training, it's actually very healthy. But if you do them all the time and you're already super stressed on top of that, then it becomes too bad. So I just wanted to stress that. Stress is not always bad. Then okay, so about her, I think what was so amazing was what I recommended her. I said, okay, I recommend you to start eating 3 meals a day. And really the key thing that I recommended her was routines, because I saw with her body does not feel safe. That's why she can't fall asleep at night, because she has too much cortisol in her body. And in the morning, her cortisol doesn't rise. That's why she has a hard time waking up. She has no period right now because her body does not feel safe to ovulate and thus make a baby. So it's pushing it forward. That is one thing we want to, improve. So we need to make her body feel safe. And the way we do that is, first of all, routines. Your female body needs routines. Waking up at the same time every day, eating at the same time every day. And obviously, sometimes it's a little, a few minutes past, it's okay. But the reason we do that is because then the body doesn't have to guess all the time. It's 12 o'clock. Are we going to eat now? No, we're not going to eat. Okay. And then it gives stress because the body is constantly thinking, when am I going to get fed? And the thing is, when we're fasting, our bodies, it is a stress response because they're like, oh, we don't have food, right? And so they kind of start pumping out glucose into our bodies to start working. And yeah, well, it's a whole thing. But so routines, regularity in her food and her meals. She was starting her morning with coffee, obviously, which is the most amazing thing. If you want to act like a man, drink coffee in the morning, your body is going to rise its cortisol. You're going to start the day stressed and anxious. That was the one thing that had to go. I think I love seeing that a lot of women are drinking matcha, and I think it's a better replacer, but I still want to make sure that you understand that one, matcha still is a form of caffeine. It just doesn't rise your cortisol as fast, so it's more balanced. It has a lot of amazing health benefits, but a lot of women drink them with oat milk, which contains so much sugar. It contains so many seed oils and inflammatory ingredients, which are only making things worse. So if you're going for the matcha, make sure that you check the ingredients of your milks, and perhaps better a dairy milk, or even better maybe a nut milk. It depends a little bit what you can handle and what best ingredients you can get. But oat milk is so full of sugar, so that's going to spike your glucose in the morning, which then again is going to get you into these cravings and eating a lot of sugar, because she was addicted to sugar. She was eating a lot of binging and things like that. So what I recommended, routines, and I recommended eating 3 times a day, making sure you start your morning with a savory breakfast. Glucose and balancing your blood sugar levels is incredibly important, especially for women. And I do recommend the Glucose Goddess if you want to understand more of it. Definitely check her out if you want to get more tips on how to do that, because I think most people have this issue with unbalanced glucose levels. Eating 3 meals a day, making sure each meal contained protein, healthy fats, and carbs from nature, and lots of fiber. So I recommended that. I recommended that she could work out, but also needing rest days. So maybe 1 or 2 days a week for rest, making sure that she actually was nourishing her body after workouts, because that also lowers the stress levels. And I said, can you avoid the cold showers for a while, and actually warmth? Saunas are way better for the female body than the male body, actually. Saunas over cold showers, 100%, and you get very similar benefits. So I would say that is something we did. Those, I think, were the key things we started with, and within 2 weeks she had her period back after 6 months of no period. It is not that hard. That's the crazy thing, but her body just wasn't feeling safe. There was too many stress factors. So we cut out the caffeine in the morning. I said, first breakfast, then you can have your caffeine if you want to. We had the regularity and routines, and we made sure that she was creating nighttime routines that were nourishing to her, that would actually help her create melatonin so that she could fall asleep at night and then wake up in the morning. I think this is the problem with intuitive living. Intuitive living can be great because it's a way where you listen to your body, but your body doesn't always know what's best for you, right? If you get cravings for crisps, do you really think your body is going to feel great eating crisps? No, you always feel bad afterwards. And so we have to understand that what these cravings, like our bodies think we want that, but it's actually we want something else. And I think with intuitive living, we don't always listen to the hunger cues and things like that because they might change. That's why I said to her, routines. That's going to help your body feel at ease. And I mean, you saw 2 weeks later, she had her first period. And ever since then, she's had a regular period from not having a period for 6 months. So it's not a lot. It's just really stop acting like a man and start taking care of your body like a woman. So that was really amazing.
That is amazing. But I love that you mention regularity and a routine, because what I've seen now is as soon as I become overly stressed with work or something else is happening in my life, then I don't do an exercise routine that I don't know. I go back to something that I know, and it sounds simple, but it makes me feel I already know what's coming next. So I don't feel as stressed about the routine before I even do it. And then it's
Yeah.
literally just a stress release to do the exercise
Yeah.
routine. I think your client is really blessed to have you in her life. So, Bo, I just want to also ask you about looking now at girls in schools and young women. If you can teach, well, actually, every woman, just one thing about her body that she
Mm-hmm.
likely wasn't taught in school, what
Mm.
would it be, and why do you think it matters?
This is such a hard question because there's so much. I would say. I would think like the two main things, and one we've mentioned many times, is you are not a small man. You are a woman, and your woman's body works differently than a man's body. And it is so important for you to educate yourself on this because you are not taught this in school, really. We don't go into that. And maybe they do now, I don't know, but I still think we're very far off. I think that is the most important thing, is to understand that. Second thing I would say is your cycle is not a curse. It is your superpower. And that sounds so cliche, like, oh, it's a superpower, I'm like a hero. But it's so true because we in school we only learn, oh, we have periods, oh, it's so painful. We don't even know why we have a period. We don't even know what our body is trying to do. We don't even know that every month your body is preparing for pregnancy. Even if you want it or not, that whole process of all the hormones involved, the estrogen that you give to you, that your body has, it makes your skin elastic. Like, there are so many women who do not have a period and they get happy about that, right? A lot of female athletes lose their periods because of the high stress that they're under with the exercising and the, restrictive eating and stuff like that. Like ballerina dancers, they're very undernourished, they have low fat levels, and women actually need more fat than men to perform. And so they lose their periods and they're like almost happy about it, right? We get happy. Oh, thank God I don't have to deal with that. The thing is, you not having a period means you're not ovulating, which means you don't get the benefits of all these amazing hormones and what they do to your long-term health, like your longevity. There's women who don't have periods, and then when they're getting to menopause, they never got these estrogen like surpluses in our bodies. And when we go into menopause, estrogen lowers, and that gives us issues with our bones. And so it's so important for us at a young age to actually ovulate, right? We are so happy when we get the pill and stuff like that because we don't have to deal with the period. The problem is we don't realize that we're not ovulating now, and so we don't get the benefits of these hormones. And I think that is something that I've learned over the past 4 years is I hated my body. I felt insecure in my body because I didn't understand my body. I think that is the thing. So many of us where we feel insecure, we feel not confident, and we feel disconnected from ourselves. We disassociate because we only feel these pains and we don't know what they mean and we don't know why we have to go through this. And we think, like, I still remember this conversation I had with someone like, men's lives are easy, right? Because we women, we have to birth babies, which is painful. We have to go through periods, which is painful. We have to go through menopause, which sucks. And so I had such a negative, and I think most women feel this way because we're like, but men, they seem to have the perfect life. And the thing is, all those things that we as women go through are not like curses. They're superpowers. That makes us a woman. It makes us like, we literally create life. Men are nothing compared to that. And I'm not shading men because I love men, but we are honestly creating life. They can't do that. So that is like the most, like the biggest thing in life. Without women, we wouldn't survive as a species. So I think we have to give ourselves so much more credit instead of trying to become like men. Become like a woman, connect to that womanhood inside of you. Like, understand that your period is there for a reason. Ovulation is there for a reason. Even if you do not want babies. And also, I think the key thing to remember is it's not supposed to hurt. Just because it's common doesn't mean it's normal. There's so many women who do not have painful periods. Like, I had it and now I don't have it anymore. And so it is something we can heal, but there's a lot of factors and it takes time. But if you're curious and you give your body what it needs, you really do not have to suffer every month. You don't. And I think that is what we have to understand and learn.
That is a great message. And I keep coming back to what you said about, even if it is what everyone has or what is seen as the norm now, it is not normal.
No.
I think if that is the takeaway message of this episode, that is perfect.
Yeah.
So, Bo, I just want to end off with you with the last question, and that is, what's one book or tool or practice that has had a profound impact on your life recently?
Well, I love this question because there's so many things, but if I would think recently, it's actually practicing the art of receiving. And I think as a woman, it is so hard to receive. Receiving compliments, receiving gifts, receiving help. It is so hard for women to connect to this. But if you want to learn to step into your feminine energy and you want to actually connect to your female body and you want to feel safe in your body, you need to practice the art of receiving. And the way I do that, I'm in a relationship and I'm very lucky because I know there's a lot of women that are single. And the thing is, when you're single, it's way harder to step into your feminine energy and to practice the art of receiving, but you still can do it. And I will give you both ways. The way that I'm practicing it in my relationship, and I'm grateful that I have the masculine men, also because I'm feminine, just to be sure, because it's polarity, right? Masculine and feminine work together. It's yin and yang. If I am more in my masculine, he becomes more feminine. So if I want a masculine man, I need to step in my feminine. And I think this is the problem with a lot of single women and the independent movement, right? I can do everything myself. Yes, girl, you can. But just because you are, what is then the purpose of a man in your life, right? Like, what does he add if you already do everything yourself? And so the art of receiving, I'm practicing that. I don't open my doors anymore. I don't open my own doors. He opens the door for me. I let him open the door for me. This is such a tiny thing. And I always think it's funny because I watch a lot of these dating videos on Instagram and stuff. And I see a lot of people talk about like, he opened the door for me. So nice. And I'm like, that's the bare minimum. We're so out of touch with that. Like, the reason I do this is because I'm practicing the art of receiving. I think a lot of women have this idea that I need to prove what I can do. And again, that's that feminist energy, right? I need to prove that I can take care of myself, that I can take out my own trash. I need to prove that I can do this pitch. Like, we're constantly in this proving mode. And the thing is, we have to realize that the proving is actually the masculine energy. The masculine is the performer. The feminine is the creator, right? We are creators. The difference is that you can perform every day as a man. You cannot perform every day as a woman. We are creators. Sometimes we have creative energy, sometimes we don't, right? And actually we get more creative and more productive in the times when we're not working, when we're taking a bath, when we're with our friends, when we're going for a walk. That's when we work, because that's how creativity works. You give your body input, and then when you're not working, that's when it comes out. So the art of receiving is a perfect example of connecting to that feminine energy, letting people help you, letting them give you a compliment, right? So many of us, and I am guilty of that, when my boyfriend tells me, your skin looks really good today. I'm like, I think to myself, oh my God, what are you talking about? I have like 5 pimples on my face, right? And it's like, I might be having, if I say that, it's like someone giving you a gift and you're saying, I don't like your gift. I don't want your gift. Like, that's rude. And it's the same with compliments. So the art of receiving is practicing people letting them do things for you instead of you always needing to give, right? We as women have been told we need to give in order to be valuable. No, men want to give. That's masculine energy. We need to learn to receive. We need to learn to take it. If you think about that, it becomes a lot more balanced, and intentionally women feel much better. So that's a practice I've been doing, and the way I've been doing that is basically like asking for help from anyone, not just my partner, not having to do everything alone anymore, letting him open the door for me, and then I would say receiving compliments and actually receiving them. thank you. Because then as women, if someone gives you a compliment, you look really great today. As soon as we get a compliment, we think we have to give it back, right? We're like, oh, you as well. Like, you look great, or like something like that. It's like sometimes you don't have to say it back. And that doesn't mean you don't think that way, but it becomes a lot nicer if someone gives you a compliment like, thank you. And I think the way you nourish the masculine is by expressing your gratitude when people do something for you. Thank you so much, because then they want to do it more because they feel appreciated. And that is something, the masculine feminine energy and that balance in relationship and dating, that's something I'm so like, I think it's so amazing because it helps you really connect and balance your hormones in so many ways. And if you want to any books on that, I would say the New Rules. New Rules is really nice about this. Also her on Instagram. And then I would say Becoming Her. I'm currently reading that, but I followed her on Instagram for a long time. It's a new book and she's amazing as well. So those two are amazing. And then actually I would add one more. It's called Pussy, the Reclamation. And it's so good. It's from Mama Gina. She's amazing. She's like the goddess of like feminine energy, I would say. That's the first book I read about feminine energy, and it really helped me get in touch with myself. And she has amazing exercises in the book to help you connect to your feminine energy and your like, yeah, femininity, I would say. So those things. And then I want to add one more thing that has helped me a lot. And that's actually the Aura ring. So I wear this ring, and I've been wearing it for 2 years now, I think 2 or 3 years. Firstly, I started doing it because I wanted to track my cycle with it. And I wanted to talk about wearables because they're so popular now. And I read this really interesting article about it. And the thing with wearables is that, like, Aura's tagline, which I really love, is they give your body a voice. And that I think is so cool because our bodies talk via our symptoms, right? And so they talk by raising our heart rate, for example, which you can then see on your ring, which can mean that you're stressed. It talks to you by raising your body temperature, which means that you've just ovulated, right? And so the Aura ring gives you sort of in words what's going on in your body, right? It helps you understand your symptoms. And if you wanted to get started with cycle syncing and balancing your hormones and all of that, I would kind of recommend like the 3 steps. I would recommend start reading about it. There's so many amazing books out there and courses you can take. You can also read my posts. You'll learn a lot. Then also you start listening to your body. So start just checking in with yourself. The things you're reading, do you notice that? And like every day have like a little check-in moment with yourself. How do I feel? What's going on? What do I need right now? And then the last thing is getting maybe a tracker, whether that is a ring or a watch or something else. And I'm not saying that's mandatory because it's absolutely not, but it does help to understand and to see in real time what's going on. And I would say that when I started the ring, I was obsessed with the data. I was checking my phone all the time for my sleep score and all of the things. Now, I don't really check it anymore because I'm so in touch with my own body now. So I kind of know when I'm ovulating. I know when I haven't slept well. I know when I need more rest. I know when I'm stressed because the ring has actually helped me understand my body and see the patterns and see the connections. So that's why I would recommend it, especially in the beginning. And now for me, the ring is almost sort of like a symbol of me showing what kind of person I am. So like, you know, some people wear like a Rolex watch, right? Or some people wear like branded clothes, or some people wear, I don't know, like a certain cap from a certain club or whatever. Like it's a way to sort of show your identity and to show what you're passionate about or your values and stuff like that. And for me, that's actually the ring because it kind of shows like when you see someone wear an Oura ring, you just know sort of like what kind of person they are in like, they're interested in health and wellness because it is quite an investment, but it also is sort of like a symbol of your identity. And so I wanted to give this one because there's mixed sort of opinions about trackers. And I think it's good to kind of see both sides. Yes, it can help you like give your body a voice and help your body understand. Also, it can become very obsessive when you think, oh, I thought I slept well. And then you see you didn't sleep well and you can like obsess about that. So I wouldn't take everything serious because if you had a good night's sleep and you see you didn't sleep well, like, okay, so be it. Like, that doesn't mean the end of the world. So it's like kind of finding that healthy balance, and that, you know, you just experience that yourself, you go through that, you'll learn. I think that it can have a lot of amazing benefits, especially in the beginning.
That is great. And I would recommend to anyone that's listening to go and read Bo's LinkedIn posts. I always enjoy them and there's so much value in it. So definitely that is something that everyone needs to do. But Bo, that brings us to the end of this very powerful episode. And I hope the listeners will walk away with a fresh perspective on hormones, cycle, and capacity to feel good in your body, not just a part of the month, but every day of the month. So, a huge thank you to you, Bo, for sharing your mission. So, if there's anything, a few final thoughts that you would like to share?
I would just say that start to like get on this journey to love your body, because your body is here for you and not against you. If you feel your body is working against you, it's because you are working against your body, not the way around. Your body is always has one goal: to keep you alive. And so even if you give it trash, keep you alive. It will do everything, but it will give you symptoms, as those are just alarms of telling you, can you just stop doing this? Because I do not like it, but I will make sure you stay alive. And so, I think that is the thing that has helped me so much, is to realize my body is here for me and it's not against me.
If today's conversation sparked something for you as the listeners, don't forget to follow the show, leave a review, and share this episode with a friend who needs to hear it. Bo's social media links will be in the caption. Until next time, take care and stay well.